Your night turned into a bathroom shift? Have you noticed a weaker stream, trouble getting started, and that annoying feeling that your bladder never fully empties? How many times are you waking up, and how much is that stealing your energy, mood, and focus the next day? What if the issue isn't really your bladder, but internal pressure building up over time? Why do some men start getting up 2, 3, 4 times a night and assume it's just normal aging? What's behind the discomfort, the urgency, and the broken sleep? In today's video, you'll understand which signs deserve attention, what may be disrupting urinary flow, why your body keeps waking you up at night, and which nutrients and botanical extracts are most studied to support prostate health and urinary comfort. And at the end, the common mistake that leads many men to ignore symptoms until they become a big problem.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about prostate health, but maybe from an angle you haven't considered before. We're going to shift our focus away from, well, the usual suspects and explore a connection that might just surprise you.
You know, whenever the conversation turns to prostate health, it almost always lands on hormones, right? Testosterone, DHT, that's what we hear about, but what if there's another really important piece of the puzzle we're not talking about enough? What if the key is to look at our body's overall wellness to get the full picture?
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with this new angle, then we'll dive into the role of visceral fat. After that, we'll see how metabolism can affect the prostate, touch on some nutrients that can offer support, and wrap up with some practical next steps you can take.
All right, let's dive into our first section. It's all about broadening our perspective.
And this brings us to a really key player here, a hidden factor that doesn't get a lot of airtime in this conversation, and that's something called visceral fat.
So what exactly is visceral fat? Well, it's not the fat you can pinch on your belly. This is different. It's stored deep inside, wrapped around your vital organs like your liver and intestines. And here's the really interesting part, it's what's called metabolically active. That's a fancy way of saying it's not just sitting there. It's actually alive and kicking, acting almost like its own little organ, pumping out various chemicals and hormones into your system.
Okay, so we have this active fat tissue. The big question is, how does that connect to the prostate? Let's start connecting those dots.
It seems to set off a kind of chain reaction in the body. First, this visceral fat releases its own, well, you could call it a cocktail of chemicals and hormones. This can then throw off the body's natural hormone balance. On top of that, it can trigger inflammation and something called oxidative stress. You can think of oxidative stress as kind of like rust on a cellular level, a form of wear and tear. And finally, it secretes a hormone called leptin. Now, some studies have linked leptin to prostate size, so you can start to see how all these things are woven together.
And this idea is backed up by some interesting research. For instance, one study out of Asia found that men who had excess fat and related metabolic issues were up to 55% more likely to report having urinary problems. Now that's a pretty significant number, and it really points to that potential link between our overall metabolic health and these very specific symptoms.
Okay, so this naturally leads to the question, what can help? So let's turn our attention to some nutrients that might offer some support here. To make it super clear, we're going to group them together based on what they do.
But before we even get into that, I have to say this because it is absolutely foundational. The best place to start is always lifestyle. Staying active and eating a healthy, balanced diet, that's the bedrock of good metabolic health. The nutrients are supportive, but this is where it all begins.
So our first group of nutrients is all about antioxidants and supporting a healthy inflammation response. Remember that cellular rust and inflammation we talked about in the chain reaction? Well, that's what these are aimed at. We're talking about things like oyster mushroom, green coffee bean, lycopene, that's the stuff that makes tomatoes red, by the way, and the mineral selenium.
Next up, we have a category focused on metabolic and hormone balance. This ties right back to that potential hormone disruption we mentioned earlier. In this group, we find things like DIM, which is a cool phytonutrient you get from broccoli, plus stinging nettle, zinc, and good old vitamin D. All of them play a role in supporting these complex systems.
And for our last category, we're zeroing in on urinary flow and cellular support. This is where we get really practical. This group includes beta-sitosterol, something called pygeum, which comes from the African cherry tree, and of course the one most people have probably heard of, saw palmetto. These are often noted in studies for helping with some of those common urinary symptoms, which, as many know, can be a major concern.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. And that brings us to what I believe is the most important part of this whole discussion. What do we do with this information? How do we turn knowledge into responsible action?
So, let's lay out a clear path forward. Just 4 simple steps. First, start thinking about your metabolic health as a really important part of your overall well-being. Second, double down on that foundation. Healthy diet, regular activity, that's non-negotiable. Third, you can be aware of the kinds of nutrients that we've talked about today, but number 4, this one is the most critical step of all, and that is to consult your doctor or your urologist. Seriously, they are the only people who can give you advice that's tailored specifically for you and your health.
And speaking of professional advice, that brings us to this essential disclaimer. I want to read it out loud so it's perfectly clear. This information is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I really want that to sink in. Nothing we've gone over here is a prescription or a medical recommendation. It's just for your information.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. How could taking a more holistic view of our health, one that actually includes these metabolic factors, change the entire conversation around men's wellness? It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? The idea that looking at the whole system, not just one part, gives us a much clearer, more complete picture. Thank you so much for your time today.
Advanced Prostate Formula is a supplement with 13 star nutrients like saw palmetto, pygium, zinc, lycopene, and beta-sitosterol, designed to support prostate health and urinary comfort. If this is something you want to address now, go click the link in the video description to see the details and grab yours. Thanks for taking a few seconds to hear this message. Link in the description.
Hello, and welcome to all our wonderful visitors and subscribers here at Vitalage Wellness. We want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude for your continued support. Your presence here means a lot to us, and it's because of you that we're able to keep creating and sharing content that we hope makes a positive impact on your wellness journey.
If you've been enjoying the content, we kindly ask you to help us spread the word. Please continue to like, share, and comment on our posts. Your engagement not only helps us reach more people, but also allows us to better understand what topics you enjoy and find valuable.
We've heard from some of you that notifications might not be coming through as expected. So if you haven't already, please make sure you're fully subscribed and have notifications turned on. This way you won't miss any of our future videos. We completely understand how this can happen, and we truly appreciate your understanding and patience as we work to improve. Thank you again for being part of the Vitalage Wellness community. Your support means the world to us, and we look forward to continuing this journey with you.